Hi guys, I'm Nick.
I'm Lucy.
And this is Lola. We're Cowley Aquatics. Say hello, dog.
Yeah.
Dog. Hi, welcome back to my channel. So I'm Nick and I breed fish in the UK. So we're here today to basically go through how I breed 1,000 shrimp. So this is how we do it. So shrimp like a hard water. So hard water is basically water that contains a lot of minerals, and they prefer the pH level of 6.8 to 7.2. So that's the water bit out of the way. So temperature, the ideal temperature for breeding shrimp. So shrimp have a very hardy, and being a hardy invertebrate, they can survive in a temperature range of 16 degrees all the way up to about 28-30 degrees. I mean, obviously the harder temperature, the more faster the breeding rate. So they breed quicker, they grow quicker at the higher temperature range, but then they do have a shorter life expectancy. So at the lower temperature range, they will breed slower, but then the growth rate will be slower also. So the ideal temperature range to breed shrimp is realistically 22 degrees to about 24 degrees. So generally speaking, if you've got a tank in your house, and your house is around 24 degrees, ideal. You don't need a heater. So we've got the shrimp in the tank, and this is basically how we breed 1,000. So water parameters, tick that box. Temperature, tick that box. How do we filtrate it safely? So I use a sponge filter. So sponge filters are shrimp safe. So the shrimplets won't be able to get sucked up and killed, and they also work as a collector of a food source, which I'll cover in a minute. So what do we feed our shrimp? So we feed our shrimp a high quality food. So I use spirulina. I bought some spirulina off Amazon. It's really cheap. I got it in a 500 gram tub. I find using that is absolutely phenomenal. It's high protein. They love to munch on it, and it helps with the egg production. It also helps with growth because it's just pure protein. So I'll use that. I'll use bloodworms. Bloodworms is another good source of feeding for breeding shrimp, because with bloodworms, again, it's high protein. That also helps with development. I also put in a calcium cube. So I buy the reptile calcium cubes. I pop them in. So calcium helps with the shrimp's development of its shell. So because it's got because it's a pure source of calcium, what I'll do is I'll graze on that as well. So that helps with the shells. So before a shrimp will breed, what it would do is it will leave its shell. So it will shed, and when shedding, it's obviously it's preparing itself to get bigger. So this can happen on a water change, bearing in mind. And if there's a drastic change in temperature, they'll shed. So with the shells, I leave them in because they'll eat them as well. That's another great source of calcium, which is good for development. So to make a shrimp tank for breeding absolutely successful, you want biofilm. So biofilm will grow on the sides of the tank. Biofilm is what creates algae. So with that bearing in mind, I just let the algae go nuts in my tank, especially when I'm breeding large numbers of shrimp, because what I do is they'll graze on it. So they graze on the biofilm. So other ways that you can help this through: Indian armour leaf. So Indian armour leaves are relatively cheap on the market. You can add like 1 or 2 of those in. When they start to break down, they will release like an antiseptic. So with that, it's very much the case of not only is it beneficial in the water column itself, when that leaf starts to break down, you will notice that the shrimp are grazing on the leaf. So they're not actually grazing on the leaf to break it down itself, but they're grazing on the biofilm that's forming on that leaf whilst it's breaking down. Other little handy things that you can put into a tank to breed 1,000 shrimp is very much the case of like wood. So if you've got any wood in the tank, that again, when that's starting to slowly break down as wood does in tanks.
It's like a stroke, but then you can have more fishy fun.
Create a biofilm as well. So rocks in the tank, it's very much the case of as well that'll collect biofilm, so they'll graze on that. So when you're feeding the shrimp, it will be the case of the sponge filter will suck that food in. So the shrimp will actually get on your sponge filter and they'll start picking up the little bits on that and eating that. So they'll initially keep it clean, which is very handy. When the mama shrimp, when she's ready, she'll have this white bit on her back. So they're basically the eggs, and this is what we call saddling. So when a shrimp is saddling, she's producing these eggs. So when it comes to the fact of she's ready, and she starts putting out the pheromones in the tank, and the little boy shrimps are swimming around because they can smell it, and they're like looking for some action. So what she'll do is the eggs will then sort of go down to the underneath of her, where there's like little shrimp flaps. So the shrimp flaps will hold the eggs. They'll obviously do the breeding. So she'll hold on to the eggs for about 22 days. So after the 22 days, she'll find then somewhere to go, and then obviously she'll release the shrimplets. So the shrimplets will stay realistically in place. So the more biofilm you've got around your tank, the better it is, because where these little shrimplets will just stay in that one position, they'll just graze on the biofilm until they get big enough to venture out into the big wide tank and look for bigger food sources. Houseplants are, as I've said in the video before about how to set up a basic aquarium, I use the houseplants because they are literally like nitrate bombs, so they'll basically keep control of the nitrate for you. Because shrimp are really small, they don't create that much of an issue with their waste and stuff like that anyhow. Not only using the houseplants, I also use like moss. So with moss, basically if shrimp have got a safe refuge for them to release the babies, they will go to that refuge to release the babies. So with that as well, it does help to have like a nice area. How we managed to get to 1,000 shrimp. If you're looking to set up a tank, what my recommendation would always be, buy big numbers. So the more numbers you've got, the more females you've got within the shrimp colony itself. Basically, for example, one female shrimp will hold 30 eggs. So if we've got 10 of these female shrimp and they're all holding eggs, after 22 days, that's going to be 300 shrimp. So realistically, the bigger the numbers, the more chances you have got to basically double that. So they take about a month, 2 months to grow out. So this isn't a fast process. It's not like something you can do in a week or in like a month. So you've got your 10 females in there. You've got a couple of males. Each female holds 30 eggs per se. You know, some shrimp, I don't know, they could probably hold 60 eggs. They're so small you can't exactly sort of go through and count them out. But we're basing this on 30. So 10 females, 30 eggs, 300 shrimp, 22 days. So obviously if we doubled that, so we went 20 females, that would then be 600. So all of these little shrimplets then grow up. You've got 300 shrimp swimming around your tank. So that will progressively increase the number of females and the male ratio. So with that again, in another 22 days, you're then going to have 30 times the amount of that. So realistically, you can go from 10 shrimp per se to 1,000 shrimp in like 3 months. And that is pretty much what I do. So I hope this video is helpful. Please drop me a subscribe, and in my next video I'm probably going to cover breeding, the breeding setup and how to breed Bristol nose placos, or possibly Corydoras. Both of those subjects, I do use my shrimp tank for another purpose. But that's another video, so please come back. Thank you. Catch you later, boys and girls.